What's going on, Chum Guzzlers? Welcome back to Bucket of Chum, the Shark Movie Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Captain Steve, and Alligator April continues this week with Alligator 2, The Mutation from 1991, directed by John Hess. So, this movie stars Dee Wallace from E.T., The Howling, Halloween 2008, tons of movies. You've seen her in something, I'm sure. Richard Lynch, who was also in the Halloween 2008 remake, Invasion USA, Puppet Master 3, Toulon's Revenge, and Kane Hodder, who actually also had an uncredited role as the alligator in the original one. So I'm assuming he was in the alligator suit at some point. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Did not know that when I did the first episode, otherwise I probably would have mentioned it. But it also stars Steve Railsback from Life Force 1980. He also played Dwayne Barry in The X-Files. I'm a huge fan of that show, so when I saw that, I was like, fuck, I actually recognize this guy. That's so cool. There's also an actor named Woody Brown, which is what it's called when you have unprotected anal sex, I think, but I'm not too sure. But enough about that nonsense. Let's get into the Letterboxd plot synopsis. It crashed out of the sewers. Now there's hell to pay. A giant mutated alligator runs riot in a small town after the sewer system washes it into a lake. Pretty fucking basic. I mean, it kind of just sounds like the first one. Doesn't really give us much to go on. It has an average rating of 2.2 stars on Letterboxd. I have this movie, so my poster expectations, I have the Blu-ray here from Scream Factory because they released this and the first one at the same time. But upon watching this, I really did not remember this movie that much. So going into the poster expectations, it's just a giant alligator with two people fighting it. So I'm kind of expecting the alligator to be even bigger, and I'm expecting more gore and special effects and whatnot. But it's also from the 90s, right? And 90s, I don't know, if you watch a lot of horror movies, the 90s is just kind of like a dumping ground for just a bunch of weird shit. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of great 90s horror movies out there, but it was also just kind of a weird time, in my opinion. But yeah, let's just see where this one takes us. But before we continue, if you're enjoying the show and you would like to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/bucketofchum, where each month I am doing an exclusive episode over there. And this month, with Alligator April, I'm going to take a look at Crawl from 2019. So be sure to check that out. If you can't do that, I would just appreciate a like and subscribe on the YouTube channel, or a 5-star rating or a review wherever it is that you listen to your podcast. But enough of that, let's just see how mutated this alligator really is, and maybe he's mutated enough to even join the X-Men. But I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. Let's dive in. So we immediately start off with a couple of dudes dumping some toxic waste into the sewers, and Steve Railsback, playing Vinny, is there watching them, making sure this all goes down well. Whoop-de-fucking-do. And at the same time, we've got two guys who are, kind of spear fishing. They're, just in, waist-high water, walking around trying to spear fish and whatnot. And we see the gator kind of in quick shots and shadows here because it's kind of stalking these two. It eventually kills them, but we don't really see much. But it's the beginning of the movie, right? So we're not really expecting a whole lot right here. And then we cut to morning, and we see David waking up, and he hears a noise. And so he goes downstairs, grabs his gun, goes and investigates. And then it turns out it's just a recording that his wife had left for him because it's his birthday. Now, this is really confusing because she left because they're on different schedules or whatever. He's on a nighttime schedule or some shit like that. And so she's left this VHS tape and this tape recording, but I realized that this tape recording was playing for him when he woke up. So would she not have had to have pressed play and then just immediately fucking left? But then in the VHS tape, she complains about not being able to see him because their schedules are all over the place. And I'm just like, why? I'm like, you could have just stayed for 2 fucking seconds if that was going to wake him up. What are we doing here? I don't know. But she's in this video with their son saying oh, we miss you, blah, 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 blah. And by the way, I think this is the only time we see their son. I feel like we don't ever see him again. It's never addressed where he is, who's looking after the kid. I have no fucking idea. Why even put him in the movie? I don't know. It's also very confusing because David is a cop. David was the cop in the last movie, but he's not playing the same David. He's playing a different character that just happens to have the same first name. Why do this? Why? Why are we doing this? I don't know. This is just one of many confusing fucking things in this movie. But anyways, We go to the swampy water area from the beginning of the movie, and then there's this cop and young girl fishing a leg out of the water, like from one of the fishermen. Very nonchalant. Nobody's screaming. Nobody's like making a big fuss about this. Okay. And then we go up into a building with Vinny, and he's there with the mayor and a bunch of other guys in fucking suits, and they're celebrating like, oh, thanks for fixing those zoning laws and blah, 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 blah. Eventually, we're going to learn that Vinny is just throwing some sort of party, and then he's a real estate developer, so he's going to do something and probably tear down people's houses, I assume. They probably go into this. I probably didn't fucking pay attention because it's just dumb. We just have more corrupt politicians and shitty businessmen and all of that fucking nonsense. And when David gets to work at the cop station, there's two ladies there kind of yelling in Spanish at the guy who's working at the desk, and basically they are related to the two guys that died in the swamp, and they're like, they never came home, can you please look into this? So David says that he's going to look into this. Now in this community, he's like pretty well known, I guess. They refer to him as like El Solo Lobo or something like that. I don't even know what that means, but he's very revered in this community. People have a lot of respect for him and whatnot. So yeah, he tries to do everything he can to help these people out. So he goes to one of the cops who has a report on these two missing people, and he's like, yeah, is there any update on it? He's like, no, nothing. Although they did fish a boot out with a foot in it earlier today. Maybe that has something to do with it. No, really? You fucking think so? Useless. My God. So David goes and visits the coroners, who show him some pictures of, I don't know if it was like these two. It was victims. I don't think we established that it was the two missing people already. It may have just been other people, because I think at some point we do talk about like some homeless people that have gone missing. So I think that's maybe what they're referring to here. But anyways, he's showing him the pictures of the victims and whatnot, and like they're all chewed up. And then he shows him some microscopic samples, and they just use the footage from the first movie here. They're just like, look at the microscope, and it's like, oh, wow, and it's just the exact same fucking footage. They actually reuse some footage a few times in this movie. Not a lot, I will say, but they did use it a couple of times. And then we learned the coroner has sent some of these samples over to David's wife, Christine, who's played by Dee Wallace. So they're not sure what this is yet. So he calls Christine and thanks her for the birthday cake and like birthday celebration and whatnot, and then asks about the samples. And then basically we learn nothing here. They make plans for David's birthday. He's going to go home on time and have dinner and all of that. He's definitely not going to be late. That's definitely not about to fucking happen in this movie. And then David goes down to the water and he talks to some of the locals. And none of these people are happy about this real estate development. Everybody hates this guy, Vinny, with a fucking passion. They're like, everything he's doing is legal. It's not really illegal. Like, it's all above board, I guess, except for the fact that, like, behind the scenes, there's a bunch of illegal shit going on. But I guess from David's standpoint, like, there's not really anything he can do about this. And while he's chatting with some of these people, some kid briefly sees the gator and starts to freak out. So David runs over to see, like, what the fuss is. And again, nothing much here. We don't really learn anything. They're like, oh, you know, kids always seeing and doing shit. Like, yeah, all right. And then he asks the mother of the child if she knows anything about the missing brothers. And again, we just learned that Vinnie Brown is a dick and no one likes him. That's basically all we get from this. So naturally, David gets home fucking late. And Christina's pissed, and she just full-on burns his fucking steak. Like, when he was late, she just, like, left it in the frying pan to, like, burn to a crisp. But he just goes with this. He's chewing away at it, and he's like, oh, yeah, this is good. A little chewy, but, hey, take a look at this file. And then immediately just hands her, like, some police file about these bodies and whatnot. And I'm like, dude, I think you missed the point here. I think you missed it. Just a little bit. Yeah, he's a real romantic fucking guy. But basically, she confirms after looking at the pictures that they were attacked by a gator or crocodile. And then they theorize about gators in the sewers, but none have been seen, or none have been, like, big enough to do something like this. And they're usually, like, smaller and more lethargic and whatnot because they don't have, like, the proper diet and all that nonsense. I guess we're not acknowledging the first movie at all because this is a completely different town. And I guess news of a giant alligator didn't make its way to wherever this town is. I don't even know where this movie takes place, if I'm being perfectly honest. I have no fucking idea. I feel like it honestly just doesn't even matter anyways. But anyways, he asks her to look into it a little bit more, and then he goes off to do more work. He just leaves and he's like, well, I gotta go do something. Like, David, why did you bother coming home? What was the fucking point of that? You just wasted everybody's time, including mine, and I'm a little upset about it. So he goes back to this neighborhood and he goes to a food truck and he's met by the police chief there, and he shows him the photos and mentions the GATOR theory and all that, but of course the chief is pretty skeptical. And then so this is where we learn about Vinny turning this area into a party that's happening in like 36 hours. And I guess maybe that's what some of the zoning shit is about, maybe. I don't fully know. Again, I don't particularly care. But the chief is also like, oh yeah, he can really put this city on the map. He can really turn it around and whatnot. Oh, sure, whatever. And then David insists that he's going to keep looking into this, but the chief says that he has no official authorization to be doing this. And David says that he's going to Vinny's country club, and the chief is like, well, you don't have my official support, but he's just going to let him do it anyways. Great. And then there's this ongoing gag of David parking where he's not supposed to. Like when he went to work earlier, two cops are like, hey, you can't park there. And he's like, bah-ba-da-ba-da. And he does the same thing when he pulls up to the nightclub that Vinny is at. And there's two cops there who are basically like chaperoning VIP guests or whatever. And so, yeah, he parks there. They're like, oh, you can't park there. Bah-ba-ba. Who cares? So he goes inside this nightclub, and I guess it's a nightclub, sort of, but there's a wrestling match just happening right in the fucking middle of it. And he finds Vinny and the mayor at a table, and so he grabs the mayor, pulls him aside, and says, listen, there's probably a GATOR or Croc. You got to cancel this party. But then, of course, Vinny comes up, and he's like, no, that's not going to happen. If there's any problem here, we're going to take care of it personally, and it's going to be us that's do it. Oh, my God, idiot. And then the mayor basically gets one of the beat cops to handcuff himself to David to have him escorted out of this nightclub. So again, this dude is just corrupt as fucking hell. Probably more so than the one from the first movie. I don't know. That's probably up for debate. But again, who cares? So far, we have the same cop, not the same cop, same name, and a shitty mayor, a company dumping pharmaceutical waste into waterland. So far it's just very much the same movie, except not done as well and not as interesting. But I don't know, maybe it'll get better as we go. Let's see what happens. The mayor and Vinny talk for a bit, and Vinny tells the mayor to go and talk to the chief and then make sure that this party still happens and whatnot. And then he tells one of his men to go find some alligator hunters. And he's like, well, I don't know any alligator hunters. How am I going to do that? And he's like, use the yellow pages. Oh, so funny. I don't know, man. Fucking, do you need specifically an alligator hunter? Could you not just, find a hunter and, they could probably bullshit their way through this? I don't know, man. As David is being escorted out, he's still handcuffed to this cop, and he says he has to use the washroom. So they go into the washroom, and these stalls that they go to, you have to pay 25 cents to get into, which is just crazy. That is just really fucked up. It's already a nightclub that seems pretty exclusive for the most part, right? So, why am I questioning this? It doesn't fucking matter. And then, so they close the door, and then, I guess, moments later, David has somehow cuffed this cop to the toilet, and then he just leaves him there. And as he's leaving, he goes and tells the two cops at the front that, hey, yeah, there's some weirdo in the bathroom. You should probably go check that out. So they're like, yeah, we're going to go look at that. So David gets in his car, and he fucks off. And the mayor's daughter, Sherry, comes and arrives at the club. And so these two cops are, escorting her through the club and whatnot. They've just completely forgotten that David said that there was a weirdo in the bathroom. They're just like, well, we got to escort this lady. That's more important right now. Yeah, sure. That's a great use of the taxpayers' money. I'm fucking sure of that. So she goes up to the mayor, her dad, and says, oh, you don't need to be here. I'm only here because you're here, and I'm not leaving until you leave. And she's basically just sick of him hanging around this Vinny guy because he's an asshole. So, yeah, it's really established that Vinny is a piece of shit, and he really is. And so he asks her to leave, but she says, I'll go when you do. They even introduce a wrestler here who is named Ramon, which is the name of the GATOR from the first movie. These nods to the first movie are really fucking dumb so far. This is so stupid. I don't understand what they're doing here. So, anyways, after that, we go to a homeless guy under a bridge and he's yelling and looking for his friend. And then he looks around and he sees his friend in the mouth of the gator. Now, this was mostly in darkness, and then the gator like whips this guy with his tail. And this tail whip is so weak in comparison to the first movie. It was just really disappointing. Seeing the gator with the dude in his mouth, like in the darkness, like that was kind of cool. Obviously, they had some sort of practical like gator mouth or whatever. So that was fine, but the rest of this was just really not, I don't know, I just really didn't care for it. The tail whip was just like, it was so bad, it was barely laughable, you know? Like, it felt like there was very little effort put into this. Then we go back to the club, and Sherry is arguing with Vinny about, like, how shitty all of this is. And we basically learn that he's rigged this event so that way, probably gambling so he can win. Oh, wow, shitty people rigging things. That never fucking happens in real life. Good God. So she finally decides to leave, and he tries to get her to stay, and I guess he's trying to hit on her maybe, but she ends up punching him in the face, which is fucking great because he deserves it. And oh, lo and behold, Ramon wins the match. Oh, who could have seen that coming? And then, as they're walking out, the cops hear the other cop in the washroom as they're escorting Sherry out. And so they go in and help him out. And then as Sherry is the one who bends down to uncuff him for some reason, because these other two cops are just sitting there making fun of him. Again, great use of the taxpayers' fucking money here. Just, whoa, yeah, fucking great. Great job, guys. But as she's doing this, it's like she's in a very compromising position. So naturally, there's a reporter right there with a film camera filming them. I'm like, where the fuck did you people come from? And how did you know any of this was happening? I don't know. I don't care. This is dumb. It's no wonder I don't remember this movie. It is so dumb. David is out looking at the water, and he's approached by some thugs. I think one of them is named Ruben, and they're basically like a gang, I guess. And so him and Ruben go off, and they chat for a little bit. And this dude talks to David about how like there used to be like really big fish here, and that was all until Vinny moved in and whatnot. But then David is like, no, we have like a giant alligator or crocodile in here, so it's probably not all Vinny or whatever. But naturally, Ruben doesn't really believe him. And then he says that, like, there's some sort of poison in the lake or something. And then again, David assures him it's just an alligator or something. I mean, actually, they're both right, because the lake's being polluted by some pharmaceutical company. That's another thing. The pharmaceutical company is called, like, Future Chemicals or Future Pharmaceuticals. It's not even the same pharmaceutical company from the first movie. We're literally copying and pasting the first movie, taking out anything good or interesting, and this is what we've gotten so far. Ugh, God. Again, like, it's no wonder I don't remember this movie that much, because there's not a lot to be desired here. So far, you know, the movie's not over yet. Maybe it'll turn around. We don't know. Let's keep going. So, yeah, David says, like, yo, keep your guys away from the lake or whatever so they don't get hurt. And we go to the police station, and the mayor is talking to who I assume is the commissioner, and he's telling the chief that David's shield is gone pending a psychiatric evaluation. And then the mayor asks for 24 hours to hunt down this gator or whatever, and the chief is like, you've got 12. And again, this is for Vinny's men to do the hunting or whatever. Like, just pure corruption, and like even the chief is just like, well, I guess my hands were tied, because why should I stand up to anybody? I hate it when things parallel real life right now. It just really pisses me off. Anyways, as David is driving, he hears a call on the radio about the homeless guy that we saw earlier being attacked. And so he gets there and he questions the guy, the one who got tail whipped. He's just being escorted into an ambulance. And then he tells him it was a giant crocodile and it was huge and whatever. And it was basically using his friend as a toothpick. And David comforts him because obviously he believes him, and then he's escorted into the ambulance. We go back to the police station, and Sherry goes to the chief to talk to him, and I guess she was trying to defend the officer that was on the toilet because the chief ends up suspending him for a bit. So I guess that's why she was here. Not entirely sure. It's not really made super clear. Again, I feel like there's pieces of this movie missing. Like, it's like they were writing it, got distracted, came back to it, and then just forgot where they fucking left off, and were like, I was somewhere around here, and then just continued fucking writing. And then nobody took another pass at it and said, like, oh, well, this is a bit confusing. Maybe we should fix this. Nope, we're not going to do any of that. We're just going to leave it as is. Cool. And then David calls the chief on the phone and says, like, he needs a shotgun and some grenades and one man. And so he offers him the dude, Hallman, I think his name was, the one who was cuffed to the toilet. Neither of them are happy about this. Like, Hallman doesn't want to be with David. David doesn't want Hallman, blah, blah, blah. But who cares? Sherry walks out with Hallman, this rookie cop. And again, this cop is a rookie cop, just like David's, like, first partner in the movie was, like, a rookie cop, although this guy lives a lot longer. But again, like, it's just this copy and paste bullshit that they're doing here. I don't understand it. And then this cop is hitting on Sherry, and specifically says that she has a great backyard because her jeans are so tight or something. And she's okay with this because they go out drinking to a bar right after this. We're over 40 minutes into this movie, by the way. I want more gator. I want more fucking alligator. I know we didn't see the alligator a ton in Alligator, but I feel like there were just, like, more pieces that were interesting, and the things that we did see were really well done, and there were some really cool shots even up until the 40-minute mark. Whereas this one, there's been, like, a couple of okay ones, but so far this just feels like a made-for-TV remake of the first one, and I don't understand why. I'm still confused as to why. After Sherry and Hallman are done drinking, they go back to David's place, or not David, to Hallman's place, where David is waiting for them. And he puts Hallman in, like, a headlock, and he's like, how much have you had to drink? Are you not prepared? And then he tells him that, like, he's going to be his partner helping hunt the alligator down. And I'm like, did the chief not tell him this already? Because Hallman seems like he doesn't know that this is happening yet. But he was in the room when he was on the phone with David, and they both protested this, like... oh my god, again, this is just so confusing. I just don't know what's happening. This movie is so dumb. So yeah, David tells Hallman that he's not suspended anymore, and, anyways. So he says, like, we're hunting a gator, go take a shower, and then he tries to send Sherry home, but she doesn't. She ends up tagging along with them. So they go and pick up Christine, and, who I guess Sherry just didn't go home, right? She's with them too for some fucking reason. I don't know why. And then Christine says that the compound they found from the saliva is, I don't know, blah, 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 hormones, steroids. And then we hear that David was investigating this pharmaceutical company before that was experimenting with animals. And again, not the same company from the first movie, but it's still doing the same thing. Anyways. And then she's like, oh, where did you think they were dumping? And he's like, oh, I thought they were dumping here. And she's like, that's not the only place they were dumping. She doesn't know for a fact that they were dumping in this lake. She's just purely speculating, but saying it like it's fact. Again, I don't know what the fuck is happening. I don't know what's going on here. Like, what's even more frustrating is the first movie ends with an alligator going into the sewer. Like, you could have just picked it up you could pick it up 12 years after the first movie, because I'm pretty sure, like, from when Ramon is a baby alligator, up into it's an adult, it's like 12 years or something like that. Like, there's enough time where you're just like, yeah, that one we saw at the end of the movie, that's this one. But this movie doesn't indicate that in any way, shape, or form, as far as I can tell. And again, it's just like, if you're making a sequel and the first one left you open to continue it, what are we doing? I don't fucking understand this. Like, this is just so dumb and very confusing. I'm getting mad. Get mad, I'm gonna calm down a little bit. We're good. We're gonna keep going. We see the mayor, Vinny, and the chief meeting Hawk Hawkins. I don't really know if his name is Hawk Hawkins. That's how he's credited on IMDb. But I think maybe his name is Hawkins and people just call him Hawk for short. I think that's what it actually is. Because if he has, like, the same, like, first name as his last name, more or less, this is just really dumb. But I mean, the rest of this movie's been pretty fucking dumb so far. So would I be surprised about this? Absolutely not. So David and Hallman go into the sewers. just like the first movie, and start looking around. And then David radios Christine to meet her in a parking lot, basically at the end of where they're going to search. So they're going to come up through the manhole cover in there. And then we see the gator stalking them a little bit. They turn around and finally see it and start running. David tries to shoot at it, and he says he hits it. He's like, oh, yeah, this thing's like made of steel. It has like no effect. I'm like, yeah, there's no effect on the alligator. There's no special effects to show that David's actually hit the alligator with any bullets. This is all just left up to our imaginations. I mean, if you're gonna... just why? Why did they make this movie? How did this movie get made? I should have tried to dig a little bit deeper as to, like, why this movie was made. Because I don't know. I really don't know what is going on here. So they climb into another room, and they throw a grenade at it, but again, it has no effect. And then the gator starts breaking through the wall as they run away. And then David plants a grenade or something to, like, try and cave the tunnel in on it. And then they climb up to safety. They ask each other if they think it could live through, like, 2 sticks of dynamite. And they're like, no, right? Yeah, no. And the way that they said this was kind of reminiscent of Quint saying Bruce in Jaws couldn't swim down with 2 barrels. Like, it felt like kind of the same thing. Like, it felt like it was a nod to that. And I'm just like, oh, okay, we don't need this, but sure, if you want to get your Jaws reference in there, there it is. The dynamite goes off. It barely does anything. It has no effect on this fucking gator, and they can't believe it. They can't believe it didn't even phase the gator. And I'm like, yeah, I can't fucking believe it either. I can't believe anything in this movie is happening right now. So Sherry and Christine open up the manhole and get them out, and he tells Christine that it's a thing, just like they thought. That's literally the line. They're like, yeah, it's a thing, just like you thought. Can you not just say, like, yeah, it's a crocodile, or it's an alligator, or it's a mutated alligator thing like you thought? But it said, no, we're just going with, like, yeah, it's a thing, just like you thought. This movie can no longer contain my rage. It is just so stupid. Oh my god, there's a reason nobody talks about this movie. There's a reason that Scream Factory didn't do a collector's edition of this. It's just like a regular ass edition. And then Christine and Sherry tell them about, like, the gator hunters. How do they know about this? Not entirely sure. But they're like, oh yeah, no, they're never gonna make it. And then at this moment, the chief drives up, and we learn that the National Guard isn't around to help them because they're out on maneuvers. And I'm like, yeah, it's not like they can be called back for an actual emergency or anything like that. So we go into the sewers with our gator hunters, and they find the nest for this thing and start looking for it by splitting up, because of course they fucking are. They come across some body parts, and like they start using caution as they're going away. And Kane Hodder is one of the hunters here as well. And then as they search, they come across some of the chemical barrels from Future Chemicals. The company name is literally listed on the fucking barrels. Why? Why do they do this in movies? Like, oh yeah, we got to be inconspicuous about dumping our garbage, but we're going to clearly label that it's ours. I just don't know, man. I just don't know. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can finish this. I'm going to finish it. We'll get through it. You guys got to help me, though. You got to cheer me on a little bit, because I'm having a tough fucking time right now trying to get through this nonsense. David manages to reach them on the radio, and he warns them about the gator, and I guess Hawk actually kind of agrees with him. So they start to leave the sewer, but then they're also not. They're also just going to keep continuing looking for it. I don't know who wrote the dialogue for this. I would really like to know. I mean, really, like, they argue on the radio for a bit until the gator sneaks up on them, and then they start to get the fuck out of there. Hawkins tries shooting at it with, again, no effect, and he's attacked with some of the other guys. He survives, but a few of the other guys are basically attacked as the gator pulls the ladder down when they're trying to get up through the manhole cover. These kills, so in this part, were better than any of the other ones we've seen so far. Not by much, but it gave me something to latch onto at this point. I'm like, okay, this is a little bit better. I can kind of get on board with this. It's not great, but it's still something. We get to see a little bit more practical gator. I think it was mostly just the mouth and whatnot, and probably a couple of tail whips. But again, even the tail whips are pretty fucking weak in comparison to the first movie. Just not as entertaining. And so far, only one guy has managed to make it out. And David arrives at the scene and he's lowered down by rope to try and help them out. He grabs Hawkins and they are basically pulled up out of the sewer. And so I guess the Gator got the other dude and not Hawkins somehow. Because we need him to be alive for 10 more minutes, I guess. And when Hawkins is out, he tells David, like, oh yeah, you were right. And David says that, like, he has it here from now on. But Hawkins is like, no, I've got unfinished business with that Gator. Of course you do. So David agrees. And now Vinny is there. I don't know, maybe he was there the whole time. I don't fucking know. And they accuse him of the chemicals and whatnot. And Vinny is like, oh yeah, prove it. And Hawkins is like, yeah, I saw the barrels down there. I'm like, yeah, they have a fucking witness. And, like, the chemicals are still down there, marked in the barrels with your company's name on them. And he still thinks he's going to get away with it? It's dumb. Dumb. And then after talking for a little bit, Vinny finally says, like, oh, yeah, no, we definitely got to shut this festival down. So he drives off, and they're following the chief. And then the mayor's in the backseat with Vinny in this car, and they start chasing the chief down, and then they just run him off the road and crash his car, and then just drive off. I'm like, okay. And the mayor is pretty horrified, but he's also, like, not really doing anything about it. Sounds about fucking right. Now, David, Hallman, and Hawkins are in the sewer, and they figured out that the Gator is going to go to the lake, just like the first fucking movie where it was going to the canal or whatever. And then Vinny and the mayor get to the party, or like this block party carnival thing that he's got going on, and he's really pissed that nobody's there. So he tells one of his goons to, like, go tell everybody that everything's free drinks, free rides, it's not going to cost you anything, blah blah blah. He wants people there. I'm like, why do you need this? I'm like, you're already doing all this dumb shit with real estate apparently, and so now you're not going to be making any money off of this. Why? Who cares? Like, what the? Oh, this is so stupid. Like, he's trying to get the community behind all of this, but, like, I don't know. I also think that they're using this as an opportunity to get people to sign over their properties or whatnot to sell them for his real estate development, I think. Maybe that's what's going on, maybe not. Again, I really don't fucking care at this point. But what was Vinny expecting? Like, he's there to fuck over all of these people, and he's like, oh my god, no one showed up to the place that, I'm gonna fuck everybody over? Yeah, that's generally what fucking happens, Vinny, you dumb shit. Certainly doesn't sound like anything that would happen in reality in our time. So Vinny goes to the DJ booth, this radio DJ booth, and he tells the dude to, like, get people down there and announce he's paying cash and blah, 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 blah. And then he confronts Ruben and his group and tells them they need to leave. But Ruben stands up to them, and then I think one dude even, like, pulls a knife on him or something. And then Vinny just walks away, accomplishing absolutely fucking nothing. Why? Because Vinny is a pussy. See, most of the men in power like this, who like to swing their dicks around and their money, when it comes down to it, they're actually just really big fucking cowards. They are big, douchey fucking cowards. All you need to do is stand up to them, because then they're going to get all defensive, but then when you really push them, they ain't going to do shit, because they're fucking scared, because they're little fuck babies. Again, I'm just talking about the movie. I'm not talking about anything else. It's just the movie. That's just what's happening in this movie. Certainly not anything that happens in real life. Vinny then finds the mayor and says that they need to talk. And then we go back to Hawkins, and he's rigging some explosives in the sewer as the Gator is approaching. And so Hallman and David are waiting up top at the manhole cover. So Hawkins climbs up, tells them they need to run before this bomb goes off. So they run and take cover. The Gator then puts the explosives in its mouth, and then there's just no explosion. Why? Unfucking clear. I guess he just bit the detonator off. I'm like, is that not like a 1 in a quadrillion fucking chance of that happening? Well, it fucking happened here, folks. Whoop-de-doo. So yeah, Hawkins goes and looks down the manhole cover, and he pulls the rope up, and he's like, oh yeah, explosive's gone. And then they say that the Gator is basically a walking bomb, and he must have chewed the detonator off. And so they come up with a plan to get it again, and then Christine arrives with a spear filled with poison. Kind of like Jaws, because they also say, like, oh yeah, its outer skin is too tough, but if you get it in the mouth or underneath its mouth or on the belly or something, then you can do it. Wow, guys. Oh my god. So David tells Christine and Sherry to get down to the lake and just start evacuating everybody, get everybody out of there. David and Hallman then climb back into the sewers, and this is nighttime now, obviously. The festival is booming. There is a live band playing, which is fucking terrible. Oh my god, they went to this band a couple of times, and I'm just like, once was enough. 2 times is too much. Like, good god. But anyways, there's people dancing, having a grand old time. And now Vinny and the mayor are on the Ferris wheel. So I guess when Vinny grabbed the mayor to talk to him, they've just been talking for fucking hours at this point. And then the mayor finally stands up to Vinny and says, like, he's putting an end to his shenanigans or whatever. But then Vinny just shoots him on the Ferris wheel, and they just keep going round and round. I don't know why the mayor just wouldn't go along with it until he was at least away from Vinny, and then just go to like, the proper authorities and be like, hey, this is what's happening. Maybe we should do something about this. Oh, my God. People are dumb. People are really fucking stupid. Sherry and Christine show up to the festival, and they're trying to get people to leave, but then one of the officers says to Sherry, like, oh, your father's been shot, and so they run over to go and see him, but the mayor's dead at this point. There's nothing anybody can do. He is dead. Then we see the gator slowly making its way back up onto land, and he gets onto land, and then he tail whips some people, and everybody starts panicking. He tail whips a cop onto a barbecue, and then like a bunch of other people and whatnot. A lot of whipping going on, a lot of tail whipping. They thought that they were doing a great job of this effect, but no, it wasn't that great. It was okay, again, like, okay. Like, if Alligator didn't exist, and we had this, and like this was the first Alligator, this would be okay. Like, okay, it's all right. But I mean, since we have Alligator, this is just pure fucking garbage. Naturally, Vinny starts panicking, and he starts to grab all, like, the real estate contracts or whatever, so at least those will be safe. And as he tries to run away, Ruben and his gang stop him, saying, like, there's a lot of people dead because of him. And so he pulls a gun on him, on Ruben, and then, like, Ruben's crew just, like, pull all their knives out, and they're like, yeah, you shoot him, we're just gonna fucking stab you. So, again, this is a good way of dealing with certain things. Nothing in real life, I'm just talking about the movie. We're just talking about the movies here. David shows up, and Vinny tries to shoot him, but he manages to stop him, basically just throw Vinny into the water where he's eaten up. And then Hawkins is like, damn, I didn't get paid. Oh, yeah, that sucks to be you, Hawkins. A bunch of your men are dead, and a bunch of other people are dead, and you didn't get paid. I thought this was personal now. I thought this wasn't business anymore, Hawkins, so why do you need to get paid? Huh? What? What's the deal here? Make up your fucking mind. So they all get onto a boat and start headed for the gator out in the middle of this lake or whatever. And then the gator hits the bottom of the boat and climbs through it, knocking everybody off, obviously. And then a helicopter comes in to try and rescue them. And Hawkins is attacked and stabs away at the gator. And he's all bloodied in the gator's mouth and continues to stab away. And the gator starts, like, doing a death roll and shit. This is the kill that I wanted in this movie. Like, these are the types of kills I wanted. Like, it was bloody, it was violent, it was visceral. Like, it was great. Like, this was awesome. This was very much like Quint's death in Jaws, where it was, like, just very, like, oh shit, like, this is not something to be messed with. And yeah, we didn't have a lot of gore and shit like that in Jaws, but again, there was enough, like, interesting things happening story-wise and just very, like, foreboding and whatnot, where this was just, I don't know what this was. I don't know. But Hallman gets on the chopper as David swims underwater, and he manages to stab the gator with the big syringe, and the gator screeches. No. Just, no. He resurfaces, and Hallman has the chopper lower down, and they manage to pick up David right before the gator starts pursuing him some more. And then they hover above, and Hallman asks if David got him. And they're not sure if it had any effect on him or anything. So it's like, yeah, he got the alligator, but I don't know if it's actually doing anything. And then David hands Hallman a rocket launcher. Now, why they didn't just shoot it right here, I don't fucking know. Because the gator was still on the surface when we saw it. But now they're like, oh, we got to figure out where it's going. So anyways, it's going back to its nest. So Hallman and David go back to this gator's fucking nest to start looking for it. And Hallman spots it in the nest first, and he takes a shot, and he misses it. Fucking completely. Useless, Hallman. Absolutely useless. So David takes aim at it, and he hits the gator, exploding it. So remember earlier when the gator swallowed the dynamite, and they're like, yeah, he's a ticking time bomb. Apparently none of that fucking mattered, because he hit him with a rocket launcher. Like, that would have done the fucking job. We don't need him to swallow fucking... Oh my god. They set up stuff, and then they just do nothing with it. So stupid. Good god. So these two leave the sewer, and they're greeted by a crowd cheering them on, cheering David on for the most part. And again, they call him, like, Solo Lobo. I don't know. This community's been calling him that the whole time. Don't know what it means. And then he meets Christine. They hug. Again, who's looking after their kid? Like, where is this child? Also, neither of them seem to be concerned about their kid either. Like, why even have them have a kid? Like, why put this in here at all? This is dumb. And then Hallman and Sherry hug, and they all say goodbye to each other as everyone's clapping away. And David is about to smoke, but he says he's had enough toxic chemicals for his lifetime. Oh, because the chemicals in the water. Oh, so good, David. Yeah, the community then starts, like, tearing Vinny's signs down, and that's it. That's the whole movie. We roll credits after that. Again, somebody watched Alligator and was like, I want to make that movie. And then they tried to make that movie, and they're like, oh, but I guess I have to make it a little bit different, but it's also a sequel. How? How is this a fucking sequel? Like, this is just so dumb. Like I said, this feels like a made-for-TV sequel to the first movie, and it's just worse. It's like just... And, like, we don't even reference anything from the first movie. We have all of this set up about various things, and then we just don't make it about that at all. I am so confused by this. I enjoyed some of the kills, like a couple of them were okay. Like, Hawkins was pretty good. When his team was getting chewed up, that was decent. But they were nowhere near as good as the first movie. And, again, naming your main character, David, the same as the main character from the first movie, but not playing the same character, really dumb. Who let this, like, what executive looked at that and said, like, fuck yeah, man, that's a great idea? Like, there's so many plot holes, there's just so many threads that we pull on, and it just does fucking nothing. Like, the dynamite in the stomach, like, why couldn't we have shot, like, a fire arrow and that lit the fuse or some shit? I would have, like, settled for some dumb shit like that, but they're like, nope, rocket launcher, boom, done. And I'm like, so why did we do all this other shit? None of it fucking mattered. Like, why are we doing this? Good God. So yeah, at the end of the day, I don't know why this movie exists. It's not horrible. Like, we've watched worse movies on this show, right? Like, there's worse movies out there. I get that. But this could have been so much better, and ultimately, like, it felt like a lazy remake of the first movie. So I'm going to give it 2 stars. I'm giving 1 star for Dee Wallace, 1 star for some practical effects, and Kane Hodder. That's basically it. I don't know, like, which I would rather watch, whether it would be this or The Great Alligator. I feel like The Great Alligator has a little bit more kind of charm to it in a weird way. But at the end of the day, skip both of them and just watch the original Alligator. You don't need to watch these other ones. There's plenty of other better alligator movies out there, I'm sure. We're going to be covering Crawl over on Patreon. That's a better one. But yeah, just go rewatch Alligator and forget about that. That's it for Alligator 2. Now, next week, I'm doing a movie that has people who have actually been in... Yeah, there's 2 actors who have been in other shark movies that we've covered on the show, actually. And it is a newer movie. I haven't seen it before. As of this recording, I haven't watched it yet either, so I'm kind of excited to see how that turns out. Maybe it'll be good. Maybe it'll be terrible. I don't really know. But anyways, that's it for me this week. You guys know you can check me out on all of the social medias, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Slasher, Blue Sky, all at Bucket of Chum or at Bucket of Chum Podcast. And I'll see you guys next week for even more Bucket of Chum.